Last year I upgraded my mitre saw station and I went for all drawers for the storage, and even though I prefer drawers overall, I've found some items need storing in cupboards or shelves. So in this video I'm going to make a full height workshop cabinet. It'll have cupboards at the top and it will have more drawers at the bottom. First I need to make some room. I'll find a new home for my thicknesser which will leave the perfect space for the cabinet. I've decided to move the fridge into the next room and the thicknesser can live in there. The cabinet will be made from 18mm plywood, which is almost 3/4 of an inch. I'll start by breaking down the full sheet using a circular saw and then cut the pieces to final dimensions on the table saw. I've recently fitted a door to the front of my workshop. That's limited the length of rip that I can cut on the table saw. To help with that, I've fitted a mobile base that SawStop have sent to me. Now I can move the saw around with ease and make room for a full rip cut and then put the saw back in its regular position. Here I'm ripping the sides of the cabinet first and then I'll cut the top, bottom and the shelves next. I also need some 12mm shelves. That's for the lower half of the cabinet and it's for the drawers to sit on. None of these pieces are cut to length yet, and to do that I'm making use of another new feature I've added to the table saw. You may remember the sliding table I had on my old saw. It was very handy, but this one that SawStop have also provided me with is a big step up and a seriously nice bit of kit. It's perfect for squaring up these boards, being super accurate and smooth, and the flip stops are great for cutting to the correct length. I'm certainly no expert cabinet maker, but the one thing that's needed to make sure things run smoothly is to make sure that all the pieces are square and accurate, and this sliding table is making that a breeze. Next I'll start cutting dados into the side pieces for the shelves to fit into. I'll do that with a dado set, but first I need to swap the brake cartridge for a dado one. It only takes about 20 seconds and now I have that extra safety and peace of mind while using my dado set. Because this is the first time I've used the dado set with this saw, I first need to prepare a zero clearance insert. I'll make dados on both ends of the side pieces first for the top and the bottom panels to fit into, and then next I'll cut the dados for the shelves. To space the dados, I'm using a piece of plywood as a guide. That's 300mm long, and I'm also adding a piece of plywood on its edge, and that's the thickness of one shelf. While the fence is set in that position, I'll make the same cut on the other side piece, and that's to make sure that they end up identical. At this point I made a mistake. I had the guy blocked the wrong way around, and it was only after I'd made a few cuts that I'd realised that I'd gone wrong. I'll fix it by gluing some strips into those dados, and it's only on the inside of the cabinet anyway. Now I'll try again and make sure to cut the dados in the right place this time. I ran out of room on the next dado to use the fence as a guide, so I flipped the workpiece around and set a stop on the sliding table. That's the dados for the main shelves done. Now I need to cut some for the 12mm shelves that hold the drawers. And the last section will split the remaining section in half for 2 rows of taller drawers. Next I'll cut a rebate on the inside back edge of the top, bottom and side pieces for a back panel to fit into. I should have set up a sacrificial fence to do this, with the dado blades partially set into the fence. It would have been safer. I'm happy doing it this way, and I'm paying extra attention to what I'm doing. The drawers need dividers between them, and the dividers need setting into the shelves. I'm doing that again with dados, and here I'm setting them out. Each row is different to the next, and it'd be very easy to make a mistake on this step, so I'm double checking all the shelves before I start cutting. Next I'll cut the dividers, and then I can start assembling the cabinet. Before I glue it together, I'll do a dry fit first, just to make sure that it all goes together correctly. I wasn't 100% sure of the best way of going about this, but I had a bit of a plan and just went for it. For now I'm just gluing it together, but I will add screws later on just in case the glue ever fails. That all went pretty well. Now I'll add a back panel, and for that I'm using cheap 9mm construction plywood. Nine millimeter plywood is probably a little over the top, but I already had it and it will make the cabinet super solid. Here I'm marking out where to add the screws. They'll go into the top and bottom panels and into a couple of the shelves. I'm not sure what wood this is, but it looks the same as the veneer on the plywood, so I'm using it for plugs to cover the screws. Next, I thought it was about time that I fixed up those mistakes where I cut the dados in the wrong place, and I also need to fill in a small piece at the front of each shelf. Now I'll add some edging to the exposed plywood, and for that I'm using white mahogany. The cabinet will be on casters in case I want to move it around, but before I fit those I'll make a quick and simple base first, and that will give the bottom shelf a little more support. I'll put the cabinet aside for now and start working on the drawers. For the fronts and backs I'm using 18mm plywood, and for the sides I'm using 12mm. That's the fronts, backs and the side pieces of all the drawers prepared. Now I need to cut dados into the front and the back piece to accept the sides. While making these cuts I had the wrong blast gate open on the dust collector. That's why there's more sawdust flying around than usual. Here I'm cutting a shallow rebate into the underneath of the front piece. That's for the bottom of the drawer to go into, and I'm actually cutting the rebate into the back pieces too, which I wasn't supposed to do, but now I'll have to flip this piece over and that rebate will be on show on the top, but that won't really matter too much. For the bottom of the drawers I'm using 4mm marine ply, which is pretty nice quality and made of hardwood. It's ideal as these drawers have no runners and will slide on the plywood bottom. I tried to keep the drawers easy and quick to make, but the main reason for making them this way was so the plywood bottom covered the whole area of the underneath of the drawer. The only part of the underneath of the drawer not taken up by the plywood bottom is the front piece, but I made sure to keep that a touch short of the bottom. And here's the back piece with the rebate on top that wasn't supposed to be there. I also left extra on the back that needs trimming off now. I probably should have cut them to the correct size, but it's easy enough to do it this way. And I did do a little sanding and planing to each drawer to get them to fit nicely. I glued together these two strips of plywood off camera, and now I'm gluing that to the underneath of the top piece of the cabinet. It will give the top more support and will also act as a stop for the doors. The doors are super simple, just two plywood panels, and I'm using the same 18mm plywood. I've put two hinges on each door because that's all I had, but I need to get an extra one for the middle and I'll add that later on. I've taken the doors back off and removed all the drawers ready for applying finish, and I've also just changed the casters for smaller ones, which I think look much better. And for the finish, I'm using a satin water-based varnish. I'm only coating the inside, the top edges and the front and back of the drawers. The bottom and the sides will get paste wax later on. I coated the inside of the drawers just once to seal them, but everything else had 3 coats. I got the extra hinge for the doors and drilled a recess for them exactly in the middle of the door, not thinking that there was a shelf there. I had to do another fix up and I made this plug by shaping it on the disc sander. I'm using these drawer pulls for now as I already have them. They're a bit small though, so I've ordered some bigger ones and longer screws, and I'll swap those out when they arrive. And the last thing to fit is a small stop for the bottom of the doors. I reckon it came out great, even with a few fix-ups. I really like the look of it, and now I need to start filling it. A big thanks to SawStop for sponsoring the video and providing me with some awesome extras for my saw. They really made the project much easier, and I'm already looking forward to using them on future projects. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.